the Canadian Formula One podcast. I'm back here with the boys, Ed, Drew, and Thomas. My name is Walker, and we are here to recap Monaco 2023, the crown jewel of the Formula One season. At least that's what I realized it was called this weekend. I've never heard that before, but here it is. There it was. What do we all think of another exciting Monaco race? Drew?
So I learned the same thing when I saw McLaren's new livery. They call it the Triple Crown because the Triple Crown consists of the Indy 500, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and then the Monaco Grand Prix. And so that's why as you mentioned, it would be the crown jewel. And I guess I'll start off with that. And I don't know how I feel about the livery. I guess it's just another way for them to sell more product in the marketing and merchandising realm. But yeah, am I a fan of Monaco? Yes. I like the race. I like its nostalgia. I think I just want to dive right into the qualifying. I think that was some of the best driving I have ever witnessed in at least me watching Formula One. It was impressive. When I watched Esteban Ocon go on the pole, I was actually waiting because I know Leclerc was doing a hot lap, and we know that Leclerc, his plan was to hit the wall. You know what I mean? And that's kind of just what he does. And I think that there was an opportunity that I'm sure everybody in the Alpine garage was crossing their fingers, just being like, come on, pull it, LeChuckles, and let's see what happens. And it didn't happen. Leclerc put in a sick lap. Ocon, he ended up getting a grid penalty, which put him back. But he put in a sick lap. And Fernando Alonso, Old Man Rivers, came in at 43 years old, driving a subpar car to the Red Bull, and only lost out in qualies by like 0.05 of a second to a far superior car with this up and coming young rock star, once in a generation driver. And I think Fernando Alonso is a fucking G, pardon my language. But yeah, I love Monaco. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was the perfect combination of dry race, wet race, back to dry race. Because I think an all dry Monaco is no fun, and all wet Monaco is an absolute disaster. I think this was that magical combination. In addition to us not having any super awesome races this year, it actually was just it was what everyone needed to get fucking excited again about Formula One, straight up. And what do you got on this, bud?
Yeah, same thing. It's the dry, the quali, and then the fiasco that was when the rain started. Oh my god. Honestly, for the entire time from quali all the way to the race, I was still rooting. I mean, exactly what I said from the last episode we had. I was rooting for Alonso to win it. Really rooting for him. So when Ocon got it, I was like, okay, good. And then Alonso got it, great. And then I just realized too that Verstappen just his sector 3 is just, that's what pulled him in. With Alonso, it was all him. Just as he said, it was all him. Maybe a little bit of the car, but yeah, it was a great race. It all went down on, yet again, as I mentioned, strategy. What tires to choose, and had it been that Alonso had gone into inters instead of going into hards. Was it hard or mediums? I think
whatever. It was a racing slick.
Yeah, it was a racing
wet
slick.
Tire.
Yeah, had he gone the inters, oh my gosh, it would have been a nail biter, because he missed out on a lap because he went on dry tires, and then he could have just gotten in the inters at the very least, and that would have been a fantastic race. That would be the cherry on top. But for me, I didn't watch it. I will admit I did not watch it live. I was doing a little bit of racing of my own as well that day. But yeah, it was a good race to watch. It was something that I looked forward to. compared to the other races in the past, wherein after quality, that was it. You're done. Like the race is done. But yeah, a lot of action too, and I don't want to spoil it for everyone else. I want to talk about it a little bit more, but yeah, um, those are my early comments about the race. Thomas, how about you, man?
Monaco was definitely an interesting one this year. It's I find it's either hit or miss with Monaco. From the beginning with the qualities, it was fantastic to watch. It wasn't boring at all. When the race started, I got to admit the first probably like 50 laps were a little bit disappointing. Not too much action. I was like, come on, is this going to be typical? And
Did you say the first 50 laps were boring?
yeah, they were
Like
pretty
five
boring in my
zero?
opinion.
Okay, I was just checking. So basically, 98% of the race was terrible.
Not terrible, but uneventful, I should say. But lap 50 plus, when the rain came, when the action started, holy, was my heart pumping. I'm like, yes, this is like Drew or Edward said, this is one of the best first races of the season that I was watching, and I was just so pumped up. My heart was beating fast. I'm like, come on, Alonso, my G, my boy. And no complaints. It was a great race. It was entertaining. It was fun to watch, and I'm looking for more those kind of races in the season ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I am going to echo a lot of the things that you guys said, and I think, first of all, let's thank baby Jesus for a little bit of rain that day, because that kind of opened the whole thing up, and really added a different dimension that race needed. But there's just something about Monaco, I think there's the nostalgia, the history, and it's just it's a boring race. But I sat there and I watched every single lap. And I was like, okay, maybe something's going to happen. Maybe something's going to happen. And even if it doesn't, you just look around and you see the course. I mean, really, I think they made the commentary on TV, where if someone proposed Monaco today in 2023 with that circuit and that setup and that course, like, it would never happen. You'd be laughed out of the room, because it's just an insane concept for the cars that we have today. Um, but it's my favorite race of the year. It's the race that always falls my birthday. It was my birthday on Sunday as well. I've always had this dream of going to Monaco for my 40th birthday. So next year I'll see you guys there. We'll do a live stream
Yes,
from
sir.
Monaco. We'll all be
Yes,
there.
sir.
And yeah, it's just, I have nothing else to say that hasn't already been said in this podcast, or probably ever, about Monaco. But as we're wrapping it up, I want to do a couple of quick fire questions here, just to recap our thoughts on the day. Best driver, we know that Ocon got the driver of the day, right? He got voted. But who do you guys have for your driver of the day for Monaco? Edward.
Um, Everyone's answer is probably going to be, I'm guessing, Alonso. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in between Alonso and Ocon, between the two. Former teammates from Alpine. But yeah, um, those two for me were like best drivers of the day. Drew.
I'm gonna go with fan favorite and fan unfavorite Max Verstappen. I know he was out in front. He's got a fantastic car, but like Red Bull read the strategy. Like they played it right. Like yes, he has a superior car. He also won by a landslide. Even if you take away the the Alonso second pit, I don't think it was going to happen. Like I just think Max Max knew how to nurse those medium tires, arguably through like 85% of the race, and it was just a well played race on his part. There were no errors. He drove, the 90 to 92% of max capacity for that car and that track, because he knew that if you push it all the time, he just played it smart. And he's a great driver. And to be honest, I think his attitude when he wins is awesome. He's a sore fucking loser. He has to learn to lose with grace, but I think his winning is more graceful now. He's more appreciative to the team. Still doesn't congratulate Checo. We're working on things, but he definitely has become a more graceful winner. He's definitely matured into that, and it's nice to see. And then he has guys like Alonso coming up and giving him a high five while he's still sitting in the car pulling up to Parc Ferm. And that's teaching Max Verstappen how to win and lose with class. And so, yeah, my driver of the day, wrap that up, is Max EV, whether I like him or not.
You know what? I just gotta get in there because I had the exact same thought when I saw him get out of the car and kind of like gracefully accept his win. I was like, oh man, he's kind of likable sometimes, right? But he's likable when he wins and when he gets his way. So
progress, not perfection.
Yeah, exactly, not perfection. There you go. Thomas, how about you?
I think all three out of the top three did a fantastic job. They really outdone themselves. Like I said, all of them were amazing. They performed an amazing race. I'm gonna go with a little bit of fan favorite here for me. It would be Alonso. I think he pulled off an amazing race, considering he did or Aston Martin did that I guess rookie mistake of pitting him for racing slicks instead of inters. Even then, he didn't lose the place. He caught up, but he was with Max basically the whole way of the race, not right directly behind him, but keeping up with him. And yeah, he did a fantastic job. So Alonso's my guy.
So for me, I'm going to dig in the crates a little bit here. And I don't know if I'd qualify him as like the best driver of the day, but I think someone who is a notable mention, who's had a rough season so far, is Lando Norris. I think he did a really good job given the conditions, given that car historically over the season. I don't even know what he placed in. We have to look this up. But whatever he was top 10, right? Please tell me he was top 10.
He was in the points, yeah.
Yeah, he was in the points, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he navigated that car really nicely. It was competitive. It had speed. So my vote is going to go to Lando. How about worst driver of the day? Can I start? Can I start, please?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is he Canadian?
And here's the thing.
Just say it.
I almost feel bad calling him the worst driver of the day because it was probably some of the best entertainment of the race leading up to the rain. Just like
trying to pass on every single corner.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe there's like a consolation prize because the number of things that Lance Stroll hit, and still within all those little collisions here and there, still managed to get a pretty decent number of laps completed. Like best driver of the day, worst driver of the day, he's somewhere in the middle. I don't know where he is, but it was just so entertaining. It was like every 5 minutes, oh, Lance hit something. Oh shit, Lance spun out. Oh fuck, Lance got in an accident. So, I don't know what I want to call him, but I just want to give a special mention to Lance Stroll.
Yeah, worst driver of the day with an asterisk.
Yeah,
I want to put out a name that didn't get mentioned at all. Nick DeVries.
As the worst?
I just didn't hear him at all.
Yeah, well,
I watched the F1 and I don't think anyone spoke his name, which is a huge step up from the rest of the season. So I guess, the no news is good news kind of concept with Nick DeVries. That being said, my worst driver of the day is going to be not the Canadian Lance Stroll. I'll give him entertainer of the day, but I will give it to Logan Sargent, the corporal. Yeah. I think when I heard his pit crew or his engineer talking on the radio to tell him and teach him about tire degradation, what are we doing? Like, what is happening right now? Like, you're a fucking Formula One driver. Figure it out. And when you have two dudes passing you, like I think Sergio Perez and two cars passed him in one corner in Monaco. Like, all you have to do is just drive in the middle at an okay pace, and no one's gonna pass you. And I just, I don't know if you guys watch Sky Sports or if you guys watch the F1 TV, but the announcers with F1 TV were just kind of like, they were saying to him, because Logan Sargent jumped on the radio and was like, oh, what the hell was that? And the announcer guy just said, that's called an overtake, dude. I'm sorry. Like, that was a guy passing you in Monaco. Like, they got to, stick their elbows up going into the corners. I get it. Right? But that'll be my worst driver of the day. How about you, Ed?
I would say, well, typical Lance Stroll. He hit pretty much everything and then parked it at Mirabeau. But for me, honestly, like he's been His radio is just like the antithesis of
Oh yeah.
Raikkonen. Yuki Tsunoda.
So good. So
Oh
good.
my gosh!
brakes suck, man.
When he gets when he talks to his engineers, I'm like, the guy makes sense in telling you what to do, and he tells them off in such a blatant manner. I'm like, why? Your engineers are helping you and telling you what to do, so it'll make things easier for you because you don't see the data. And it's just like, what?
I think it's brilliant. I find it hilarious.
It is hilarious, but I'm like, they're trying to help you, and he was doing pretty well at the start of the race, and then it's just like after the rain, it's just like kiboshed everything. I don't know. But yeah, for me, it was Lance Stroll hitting pretty much everything and trying his best to see if he can get up in the race, but yeah, it was pretty bad. Thomas, how about you?
So you guys mentioned basically I'm the same way. Stroll, some good entertainment. Yuki, some great entertainment. I'm gonna agree with you, Sargent. I think he just had a shit race. I know he's a rookie and all, but man, those mistakes were like really, really rookie mistakes. And honestly, I was shocked that two cars would pass him on an overturn or on a turn in Monaco out of all places. Exactly like you said, Drew. That was just embarrassingly shocking, honestly. So Sargent is the worst I'd say in the race for that.
I was just trying to see if I could quickly pull the Yuki Tsunoda
the audio,
the
My
team
brakes,
messages.
They suck. They suck. What do I do with the brakes?
I have a transcript, but that's about it. Yeah, I mean,
Are you trying to make me crash or what?
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about Hamilton. Like, listen, if we're gonna have a segment about radio messages of the week, he I think stole the show this week. Absolutely, no question.
You have to appreciate his consistency because, like, his radio, like, he should have his own podcast. It's just clips of his radio. Like, I'm sure somebody's done it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And you're right, Walker. He definitely took Kimmy's spot. Like, Kimmy was classic for that. And even Sebastian Vettel. Like, I've gone through a few of those looking for clips for like sound bites and stuff for this for the podcast, and like Sebastian Vettel's he's cooked some goodies in there for sure.
Oh yeah, there have been a number. I mean, even Fernando before he became all fucking nice, like he for some reason this season with Aston, he's a bit of a prick.
But, yeah, well, Daddy Stroll's giving him a fucking nice little chunk of change there.
Exactly. There's got to be something in the contract about that.
That smile's way too big, and I heard he's smashing Taylor Swift still. So like, whatever.
What?
Get it, boy.
Yeah.
You guys hear about that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man. I
heard about that.
Fernando.
Yes,
Fernando and the T Swift. So all you Swifties out there, he's getting plowed by a fucking Formula One driver.
Listen, man, I'm going to qualify myself as a Swiftie based on like, the household that I live
and that's
in.
cool, man.
By osmosis, whatever. Yeah. I've been to a concert. It's fucking awesome. But I did not know this. I have to tell my wife because she's going to be...
Oh, it's a whole thing. Like, what's it called? Sky Sports, like Crofty and, those boys, they were, like, absolutely hilarious with it. Because while they're doing the announcing, they worked in all of the Taylor Swift song titles. I saw
that. I just didn't understand the connection.
Yes. It's a T Swift, Fernando Alonso connection, baby.
Maybe I can get her to watch the races with me now. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
So apparently Taylor Swift is really big into F1 and a big fan of Alonso, and this is a little
apparently
bit
F1's really into Taylor Swift a few times too.
No way. And
well done.
apparently the song that Taylor Swift wrote, "Anti-Hero," is because of Alonso. So that's another fun fact.
I'm gonna have to check with my my expert sources over here, and I'll get back to you on that. We'll dissect some Swiftie songs next week. So we're heading out of Monaco into Spain. Let's talk about some of the teams as they exit this weekend. Who's doing okay? Who's a little bit under pressure right now? We can talk about drivers. We can talk about some principals, just teams in general. Where do we want to start on this one? Maybe we'll talk about who's under the most pressure going into Spain. Thomas, you have any thoughts on that?
They're the most pressure. I have a few teams. One is probably Haas. They had their moments. Last race wasn't anything really special. McLaren would be on my radar as well. Last race again, they I think one or both of them were in the points. In the points, they did fairly well, but they need to step up their game. For McLaren being in my eyes being a pretty high team, pretty luxury car team, they're not doing the best. A lot of the lower ranked teams, I think, really need to step. That includes Ferrari as well, Williams, and yeah, there's just so much. It's such a broad one, but yeah, a lot of teams need to step up.
Drew, what do you think?
Under pressure. As far as drivers are concerned, I think Nick DeVries, he's not getting out of this one scot-free. I think Nick DeVries, he's still, like, they gave him a shape up or ship out kind of comment, and, like, he's got a few more races because Red Bull doesn't want to go back on it. Like, they picked him for a reason. You know, they have plans for him, but, like, he needs to show up. And, like I was saying before, he went from, like, being mentioned as the worst to not being mentioned isn't enough for Red Bull or Red Bull's teams. Right? Like, look at the jumps and leaps that Alpine's made. I don't think AlphaTauri has the car. I don't think that they're making it, and I don't think they're giving Nick what he needs. I'd like to see McLaren do very well because I think Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are two of the best drivers on the grid, and I think they're in a subpar car. Like we mentioned in the last podcast, McLaren is putting all of their eggs into this wind tunnel basket, and that really better pull out. I would love to see, we've got some really good, micro results from Monaco as far as Mercedes is concerned with their new upgrade kit. I love it. I think it looks fantastic. I'm a big Mercedes fan. I hope it does wonders for them at not a real track, but a track not as specific as Monaco. And I think that there's an opportunity for Ferrari. I guess this is kind of like a broad stroke. I'm kind of going through all of them, but I think Ferrari really needs to pull up their socks in terms of making really bad pit calls, making their drivers make decisions while 300 kilometers an hour maybe isn't the best thing. They're worried about not dying and going really fast. Let you make the calls as far as when to pit, what tires to put on, where I think Red Bull does a really good job with that. And I think Aston Martin, you have a big spread on those drivers. Your Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso. If they're going in the same car allegedly, then Lance Stroll better pick it up. And I think I think you're 100% right. I think Haas has to put on a show because their outing in Monaco was not great, and I think Spain might do a little bit better for their car. And Williams was just an absolute disaster. What's his name? Alex Albon put it in the wall, and I think Williams needs to really pick that up too. How about you, Ed?
I'm gonna have to say to start, just continuing what Alonso is doing. Stroll is definitely going to be, probably people are going to be looking at him and seeing like what is he actually going to do. That his teammate, his 43-year-old teammate, is outshining him every single race, every single time. So for me, I think he needs to kind of like step up with Spain being like a little bit of a faster track. And they do have the pace, so it's not like he's going to be in danger at any time because his father kind of owns the team. So that's I think it's more
slight caveat there.
Yeah, so a little bit, that's more optics than anything else. Another team that I'm looking at that's going to try to really push the envelope a little bit is Alpine, being that they did show, like Ocon showed out in Monaco. They may have done some changes as to why they're there, or maybe it's just Ocon. But it's not really not just the team, but Gasly has not been performing at all. Like prior to 2 to 3 years before, when he was with his former team, he was doing really well. an AlphaTauri. The last year, prior to him leaving AlphaTauri, wasn't that great, but I would blame that on the car. But he hasn't been showing up anything at all this season with Alpine, and Ocon is just like, sweeping him off the rug.
I
And
think
just
he had a pretty decent Monaco. No,
no,
You
I
give
don't know.
Gasly
They're
a
only
little-
they're only 7 points apart in the.
Yeah. And even what was
the
before, I mean,
championship.
I think even prior to that, like he had a decent result.
They were pretty neck and neck as far as I was concerned. I think
Yeah.
Monaco Ocon just like grabbed it and ran with it.
Yeah, he crushed it for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, I like Gasly. I'm rooting for him. I think he's a good talent. And I think if Alpine can kind of like get their shit together, which it seems like they did at least last weekend, after they got spanked a little bit by their CEO, I think, I think they have a competitive car clearly. I think one of the teams that has facing a lot of pressure going into Spain is going to be Mercedes. I think they unleashed this big package. Sorry, let me rephrase that. They brought
Unleash the big package, the big black package.
the big black package, the BBP.
I knew you
So-
were gonna go there.
I love it.
no.
I was hoping you were gonna go there. You
Oh
sick
my
fuck! I love it.
So they brought the new configuration to Monaco. I think they got a bit of a pass because of the configuration of the track. So really seeing how it performs on a more traditional circuit, is it really something that can hang with the Red Bulls and the Astons? I don't think we're expecting to hang with Red Bull right now, but can compete with the Astons and the Ferrari on a track which is much more traditional, much higher speed, much more dynamic? I think they're going to be facing a lot of pressure because it's going to be the first real test that they have of this new platform that they brought forward. So I'm going to go with Mercedes on that, but I also just want to touch on Ferrari slightly. And Drew, you said something that just kind of brought this to mind. We were talking about the questionable strategy calls and how they handle their drivers and manage their drivers throughout the race. And obviously that was an issue for the last couple of years, and they got rid of their principal. They got rid of Matteo Binotto, and now they have Fred Vasseur in there. But similar things seem to kind of crop up, right? So, obviously you have the fall guy up top, but clearly there are issues in their strategy department. Maybe even with some of the engineers that are handling the drivers. Systemically, there seems to be a lot of issues with communication and strategy in that team. And I don't think that firing another principal is really going to solve that.
No, there's an intrinsic disconnect somewhere, and by firing, like you said, by firing the principal, they've just proved that it's deeper than that, right? Like
Yeah.
the head of the snake isn't the rest of the snake. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got to be on the same page. And look what happened. All of a sudden, the boss at Alpine started slapping face, and everybody shaped up. And I think it's got to be the same thing. I think somebody at Ferrari needs to be like, get your shit together, and you're out or you're out. That's it. There's no more, no less than that, because like you can't keep making these mistakes. You can't have a car and two drivers like that can't pull it together. Like what in that combination is missing? Because like if you take each piece, they're all winners. There's just a disconnect in there that like, is it communication? Is it like, do they need to do some fucking team building exercises? Do we need to play tag? Like what do we need to do here to get each member to talk? Is it like, I don't know what goes on. Yeah, to do like, are they compartmentalized? Like does each person not talk to the other because like, oh well, he deals with the tires, I only deal with the you know what I mean? Like I think there needs to be some synergistic like opportunities that they need to jump on there for sure.
I feel the same way. Honestly, like this may or may not be a controversial hot take for me, but I think it was a mistake firing Binotto, because honestly, for me, like the way he's more of the engineering side. He's more on the packaging side and trying to set up the car properly. And he's been the team principal for, I would say, 5-6 years already, prior to him getting sacked. But the reason why the car was performing even last year is because of the stuff that he's been building towards. And sacking him was just like, why? What's the reason for it? Because of your strategy? Because they would like, again, like as everyone's, I'm gonna echo what everyone said here, is that the strategy is the biggest problem that they have right now. Like calling in, calling in a driver when he's not supposed to come in, and then midway through, like a second later, no, come in, no box, no, stay out, box. I'm like, why? That's that. I think that's a problem. Fred Vassar, like he's great and whatnot, but I don't think he's solving anything. He needs to kind of like pull everyone together, as you said, Drew, um, and just kind of like create that vibe and have that like easier communication between the strategy and the drivers, and then what is it that is going to help them win the race? What strategies? What tires? What's the setup of the car? Because I think they have that done, but more towards like how are they going to bring them in? How are they going to do the strategies for the undercuts? Like that, I think once they solve that, they can start bringing it to Red Bull.
It's I'm gonna agree with both of you guys. Firing Mattia was not the solution. I personally thought it was, or it would have been when Fred came in. I'm like, cool, maybe we're gonna see some change. It's gonna be great. But as you said, Drew, the problem is really really deep in the team, and changing the team principle didn't do much at all. Um, I personally think the whole team needs to be overhauled. All new people have to come in, and maybe not all, but most of them would have to come in and just start fresh. I think that would be the best course of action right now, because whatever they're doing the last 2 3 years, even maybe longer, it's just not working.
So, looking at the hiring of Fred Vasseur, like, I don't know this question. Maybe none of you do either. But what was he brought in there for? Obviously Mattia wasn't working out. I miss his hair. I miss the glasses. I miss the all red suit. Like I miss that presence in the paddock. But clearly they thought that making a switch either for optics or for some kind of operational stability would help, and they bring in Fred. And with no disrespect to Fred, he was the principal of Alfa Romeo, which was a middle of the pack team. Admittedly, it's not going to compete the same way that a factory team will, but you know, what was his expertise? Like, what was he brought in to do? Was it strategy? Is he a strategist? Is he an engineer? Is he just a change of face?
I think there was some of that. I think there was we tried it for 6 years with this guy, and like I love Bernardo. He was a character, man. Like that was awesome. He had the glasses. He looked like Where's Waldo, and he was confused all the time. But a smart dude, and he was funny. Like he was a character. He was like no Steiner Gunter, or Gunter Steiner, but like he definitely had a presence. I agree with that. I don't think Ferrari knew what they were trying to replace. Like I don't think that they were like, oh, let's fire this guy because he doesn't have XYZ. We're gonna hire this new guy. He does have XYZ. I think they just needed to shake something up because they couldn't find where the problem was. So they're just like, let's give a shake up from the top down and see how this goes. I think they've started from the top, and I think if the season continues to play out like this and nothing gets fixed, they're gonna have to start going down the ranks because they figured out it wasn't the top guy, and they're gonna have to shake it up somewhere in the middle. And I don't know if they're going to, deploy a strategy like McLaren, and instead of having one guy at the top, they got like three guys kind of at the top, and they compartmentalized it that way. Not that McLaren's doing anything good with that, new management team, but like maybe it plays out like that. I think that I think we would be crazy to think that they're not trying to figure this out. Like if we can sit here in Canada, Toronto, or wherever we are around the world and watch Formula One on TV, and we can sit here and see these guys keep fucking up over and over. Someone in Ferrari also knows that they're fucking up over and over, and they need to find the problem. I had a friend in Woodbridge who's like, he thinks he's Italian more than these Italians. And even he says there's too many Italians working for Ferrari. He's like, you can't have that many Italians working for Ferrari. It's a problem. Too many of those Italians in a room, and it's a problem. And now they're hiring some French. I just think there needs to be a systemic decision made on how this needs to happen, or they need to have a strategist manager shakeup big time.
Maybe they have like Enzo's great grandson or something like that running strategy, and it's just like untouchable.
That's it. Or maybe they go to like one of these video games who has a strategy section in it, find out who's ranked number 1 on Formula 2023, and hire that.
They
Right.
ran a simulation on EA Sports Formula 1 2023 on Monaco. Didn't work out for them.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that, man.
Honestly, for me, like when I think the only reason why they had to sack Mattia and choose Fred was more towards appease the Tifosi. That was it. Because the entire time that Mattia Binotto was the team principal, it was like the worst time of Ferrari. Like they had like look at their drivers. They had Kimi that was driving for them. He won his championship. But again, like nothing. And then they had Vettel with them, nothing. They were grooming Leclerc. He had some of his flashes, but again, nothing. Biggest move that they had, they brought in Carlos Sainz. Great. But I think this actual move of signing Fred Vassar was just to appease, the Tifosi. And who would be like the closest thing that can really help, or not even just help, but just be used to what the Ferrari power plant it can be, what the Ferrari power plant is capable of, is the secondary team, which is Alfa Romeo, because they're using the exact same power plant. So I think for me, it was just, you know what, we need to fire this guy. We need to fire Binotto so that Tifosi will be happy, and will show that we're changing something. But replacing Binotto with someone who doesn't really exude anything at this point, like doesn't really show that he can change stuff. I think that was it. It was just like a means to an end at this point. I don't know if things are going to change this year, but who knows?
I agree with what you, Drew, and Edward said exactly. There's not much to add to that. I think they just needed to fire a guy to show that something is changing, something is being done, and they just went basically the top of the guy, and they just fired him, and it clearly wasn't the right call. And yeah, there's not much else to that. To your points, guys, Walker.
Yeah, I just think it's like the ultimate show of desperation, right? When you start making decisions to appease fans, when you start making decisions just for the sake of making decisions, it just reeks of desperation, and it's hard to see a team and a company with the history of Ferrari. You would expect this shit from Haas. Like you hear someone like no disrespect to Haas, but like you hear some of like the radio calls and you see some like the way things play out, and you're like, oh, this has to be like a bottom of the pack team. Like there's no way that one of the most storied teams in Formula One history can lose their shit as much as they had. And even, I think it's something to be said that even, we've been giving them shit for the last 10 minutes and we've been saying they've been doing all these things wrong. And, they still have a top 3 car in the field, potentially a top 2 car in the field, right? So let's not like blow this out of proportion or lose perspective that like everything is going wrong, because everything is not going wrong. The world has not ended for Ferrari, but I think our expectations are just so high that anything less than really a second or third place, especially with those drivers in that car, is just a disappointment, and I understand that. But I think we're just all a little flabbergasted as to why they keep making these blatant mistakes, which obviously is costing them places and points.
Yeah, they have a good. I mean, we don't discount that, Walker. Like they have a good car. It's just the guy who's calling the shots. Like
they have a great car. The fact that they are even in competition, that they are a top 3 car, is just point and proof that Leclerc and Sainz are fantastic drivers, and the car performs day in and day out. Obviously, nothing's perfect, but like you put those together, and they still have a top 3 car. You put that third piece in, we have a competitor. We have a championship, like an actual legitimate battle that could happen. And then even have a third in there with Aston Martin. And if, let's say the new body style starts working and kicking it for Mercedes, now we have Formula One back. You have that competition. You don't have that runaway that like, like when you look at the betting odds, they have a whole section that's without Max Verstappen. So like you literally, there's Formula One betting, and then there's Formula One betting assuming Max Verstappen isn't driving because they just have a runaway like that. And yeah, like, which I guess another point that I wanted to bring up today is that it was a big announcement today that McLaren signed Rob Marshall from Red Bull as their new technical chief. And I think they're taking a page out of Aston Martin's book, which is don't try to do anything that hasn't already been done. We're not reinventing the wheel. Just go and steal somebody else who does it fucking better. Why do you have to, don't make this harder than it has to be. There's someone at another team who's doing something great. Go buy them. Everyone's got a price. You know what I mean? And Ferrari found out that Lewis Hamilton's price is above 40 million euros. So like everyone's got a price. Louis just didn't find his price.
Oh, he was never going anywhere. Let's not
No,
say
he
this
wasn't.
again.
He wasn't going
Come
anywhere. He
on.
wasn't.
So last week we gave our predictions for Monaco. I think we all got them terribly wrong. Tell me if I'm right. Did I mix something up, or did we all like?
No, we all shit the bed.
Fucking in the interest of consistency, do we dare make some predictions for Spain?
Of course, that's the only thing that we do consistently around here is make shitty, bold predictions.
Well, we're gonna be like the Ferrari of Formula One podcast.
Correct.
Just fucking get it wrong all the time.
But at least we're consistent with it. We don't win any races. Okay, Eddie, you up?
Yeah. I would say that. Well, of course, Red Bull's going to win this. It's a fast track, and especially with the new chicane, they're just going to build up so much speed. For Spain. So
should we just predict second, third, and fourth place?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say.
Good idea, Walker. Good idea.
So, for second place, I would say either Carlos Sainz or Alonso, home race. So they're gonna show out for sure. And then third, say Leclerc or Hamilton or Russell.
You can't do ors. This is give me a 1, 2, 3. What do you mean?
Okay, fine.
Or this guy, or this guy, or this. Of course you're gonna get one. Fucking hell, man.
Okay, Carlos Sainz for second.
Okay.
And then for third, I would say Alonso. And then fourth, Hamilton.
That wasn't so hard, was it?
All right. Thomas, who do you got?
So for second, I'm gonna go with Hamilton. I have a feeling. Third, I'm gonna go with Checo, and fourth, I'm gonna go with Alonso.
Very interesting.
Walker.
Oh man. Okay, so second, I'm gonna take Alonso for second. I'm gonna do the home race. I think he'll be pumped up. I think they've got a pretty slippery car. Third, I'm just gonna choose Hamilton every week just because I'm like such a diehard fan. So I gotta put him there somewhere. So let's go Hamilton third. And fourth, I'm gonna choose my dark horse from earlier on in the podcast, and I'm gonna say Lando Norris.
I like it. I appreciate that you.
What do you mean, boo? Thomas, what's your problem?
Boo your face.
What do you got?
Lando.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go second place, Checo. Third place, Alonso. Fourth place, Hamilton.
All right. No, but seriously, I've never seen such a visceral response from Thomas in the 3 podcasts we've done.
The most stoic man on the planet actually had a little fucking entertainment there, right?
There was like, where'd that come from? What do you have against Lando?
I don't have anything against Lando. I
clearly do.
Everyone in the world is going to know quite soon that you do have something against Lando Norris.
I think you're being optimistic, Walker, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he's not ready for the top four yet. So dream on, dream on.
All right, fair enough.
I don't
Shots
disagree
fired.
with Thomas, but I do like the fact that you like to pull a dark horse once in a while, for sure.
You got to. It's got to be
Yeah.
fun, right? Otherwise,
Yeah,
we're just gonna
exactly.
be whatever. Anyways, I appreciate the reaction.
Yes,
That was
it was quite
impressive.
animated.
It was.
Yeah.
All right, boys. So that is the Monaco recap. That's episode 3 of Parc Ferm, the Canadian Formula One podcast. We will be back next week recapping Spain. Lots more predictions for the following races. We'll do a whole recap. All the good stuff. Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe wherever podcasts are played. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. What are some other ones? Well, you know what? If you're listening to this right now, you know where to find it. So
Yeah.
subscribe.
YouTube. We got a YouTube channel. Hit
YouTube
that
channel.
up.
Oh, and the Discord.
Get in the Discord. The link will be in the show notes.
Check the show notes. All the links. All the goodies. And that's it. Peace out. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.